Welcome to the Cook's Demo. Today I'm going to cook a dish that I've been debating as to whether I should do a video on. For two reasons. A, it's simple. And when you make a simple dish, people are like, why does he even bother making a video? But the other reason is because I think the simplest dishes are actually the most difficult dishes. I'll give you a great example that we can all relate to. Omelettes. Everybody knows how to make an omelette, you know. Break a few eggs, throw in some cheese, some ham, some mushrooms, whatever, and you've got an omelette, right? I think omelette's one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult dish to cook. As in to get it really good, like perfection. Like it's one of the most difficult things to cook. And I can always see the flaws in my omelettes, and I'm always trying to improve and perfect, and it comes down to technique, as it always does. Like I've said in other videos, to cook food that we can eat isn't difficult. Don't burn it, don't oversalt it, don't put too much chili in it, you know, more spice than you can handle, and pretty much we can eat anything. We can eat a poorly made omelette, that's not a problem. And you can eat a poorly made Cacio E Pepe. But what I want to show you is how to do it well. And I might do an omelette video, we'll see. And if I do, it's to do it well, to do it superbly, to make it perfect. And that's what I'm going to try and do here with Cacio E Pepe. Now, it only has very few ingredients. It has spaghetti pasta. It has pecorino romano cheese, and try and get that if you can. If you can't, get a similar type cheese, I guess. It has a little salt. It has fresh whole peppercorns that we're going to crush. A pot with about a liter of water to every 100 grams of pasta. And we're going to need a pan, like a frying pan, or a pan that we can bring the whole thing together. And that's it. And the first thing I'm going to state about this video is this is it. This dish is perfect, and it's simple, and these are its ingredients. If you make it with olive oil, if you add butter, if you add garlic, you're no longer making Cacio E Pepe. I'm sure whatever you're making is a nice thing and it will taste really good, but it's actually something else. And that's something that worries me when I see videos online and I read about how to make this dish, and there's garlic in it, and there's olive oil in it, or there's butter in it, and a whole bunch of other things, white wine and herbs, and you're no longer making Cacio E Pepe, you're making something else. And maybe if we research it, that dish might actually exist in Italian cuisine and it has a completely different name. That's not what we're doing here. We're going to make Cacio E Pepe, and this is all that's in Cacio E Pepe. Now, so for my recipe today, because I only usually ever make this for me, late nights, when I'm hungry, it's simple but yet delicious. So this is a one-person portion, but it scales. Just double, triple, and you will make the same, just larger quantity. So today's recipe is 100 grams of spaghetti, which is why I'm not using a very big pot. But if I had more, use a bigger pot. To 100 grams of spaghetti, I'm going to use 1 liter of water. To that 1 liter of water, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon, and that's measured teaspoons, yeah? 1 teaspoon of salt. Again, I should say something about the salt. The Italians, they're like Greeks. We like to embellish our language, and the Italians say that the water that you boil your spaghetti in should be as salty as the Mediterranean Sea. Us Northern Europeans, because I'm Greek but I am born and bred in Britain, I think we're a little bit more analytical in our language, and we hear things like that, and we go, wow, that's a lot of salt. I've actually done it. I've cooked pasta twice now using a salinity level that was equal to the sea, and I can tell you now, don't do that. It's way too salty. What Italians mean when they say that, they mean get some salt in there, and they mean, more than just a pinch. Because you need to flavor that water for the pasta. The pasta's going to soak in some of that salt and give it more flavor. So I've figured out it's about not a half a tablespoon, it's about 1 measured teaspoon of salt to a liter of water, and that's all you need. Don't go any more than that. And we also have a half tablespoon of whole black peppercorns, which we're going to crush, but before we crush them, we're going to toast them. Now, if you don't have whole black peppercorns, then just toast like a half a tablespoon of cracked black pepper. So just take your grinder, measure out a half tablespoon of cracked black pepper, and then toast that. But if you have whole, it's better to do it that way. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our water on the boil, bring it up to temperature. So while we're waiting for the water to come up to a boil so we can add our salt, I'm going to grate my pecorino. I'd say for about 100 grams of pasta, you only need 50 grams of pecorino to as much as 100 grams of pecorino per 100 grams of pasta. Obviously, the more you add, the cheesier and the thicker that sauce is going to be. I like a light coating, so I'm going to go somewhere in between that, say about 75 grams. I would suggest that for you guys as well, but everyone has different tastes, so that, you know, measure it in accordance to you. But I'm now going to grate. You want to grate it finely. You want tiny little pieces, like you're grating Parmesan, for example. Okay, so our water's coming up to a boil, and now we can add the salt. Let's mix that in. And now we can add our pasta. And you can just help that. My only tip is, once you've got it in the water, just move it around a little bit, because the pasta is going to start getting wet and sticky, and I don't want it to stick to each other. So as long as you just keep moving it a little bit, just make sure it's completely under the water. Now we can turn our heat down. We want it to keep boiling, but we don't need to have it on such a high heat. So turn it down to about half, maybe just under half, and just have that nice rolling simmer. Just give it a little, every now and again, just give it, you know, just give it a little mix. But by and large, you can leave it alone. Now the packet says that this pasta will take about 12 minutes to cook, so we want to take it out around the 9-minute mark, because we don't want it fully cooked. So while the pasta is boiling away, we can grate our pecorino. So I've just got, like, you know, you can use a microplane type grater, or something like this is like a Parmesan grater. It doesn't matter which, as long as you just grate it nice and small, you're going to be fine. Okay, now we want to get our frying pan, or a pan of any, you know, flat wide pan that we have. And we're going to get it on the heat dry, no oil, no butter, no nothing, and just put it onto a medium heat, and just pour in our peppercorns. We just want to toast them a little bit, just warm them up, and they're going to sweat a little. They're just going to start releasing an aroma. Okay, once we start getting a nice toasty aroma, you need to get either a mortar, or if you have something that grinds spices, use that. But we do not want to grind this too finely. We want it cracked black pepper consistency, the kind of consistency you get using your pepper grinder. And remember, if you don't have whole peppercorns, just grind straight into here with about a half a tablespoon of cracked black pepper. Okay, so let's get this off the heat now. I can really smell that peppery smell. And let's get that into the mortar. And what I'm going to do now is just crush it, but not too much. We just want that crushed black kind of consistency. Oh, the smell. Now remember, you can use less than this if you like, if you're not a huge pepper fan, or if you don't want it, you know, obviously pepper is spicy, so, but definitely add a little bit so you can get that pepper aroma into it, so you can make a genuinely true Cacio E Pepe. So, you know, that's quite coarse. Perfect. There we go. 2-3 minutes before our pasta is fully cooked, we now need to start this process. So I've got my pan back on, it's on a medium heat, and the first thing I want to add to it is my pasta. So use whatever tool that you have and start bringing your pasta over into the frying pan. So I've got, here it is in its water. We don't want to lose this water. This water is very important to this process, but we want to take out the pasta and start putting it into here. Now remember, keep the heat low. And don't worry about bringing any water over, that's fine. Make sure we've got all the pasta out, yeah. Now, because we don't want to fry this pasta, we're going to add about a ladle of water and just keep moving it around. So we're still cooking it because it's still got another couple of minutes before it's ready. Add a couple more. So we want a little bit of the liquid in there. We've got it on a relatively low heat. There we go. And we've got, as you can see, some liquid in there. Perfect. Now, okay, so what we want to do now is get a ladle full of that starchy water, and we want to pour that straight into our grated cheese. And the reason for that is we want to turn it into a sauce, a nice thick cheesy sauce. See, if we put the cheese directly into this, it will just be lots of these really strange bitty stringy bits of cheese, and we don't want that. We want a sauce, a creamy sauce. So all we do is just mix that straight in with some of that water. Now we can apply it to our pan. Let's move our pasta around. And it's got quite dry in there, so I'm just going to add a little bit more water. And now we can add our cheese. Start mixing that around. And it will get quite watery, and that's good. You don't want it to be very thick. Now we can add our black pepper. And there we have it. That is ready to go. And here we have the finished article. Now, when you're finishing this off, it's still going to look a little wet in the pan, and that's what you want. You don't want the pan to dry up too quickly. And once you serve it, you see it quickly clumps together, and the pasta is beautifully coated in this creamy sauce. So let's give it a try, see what it's saying. It's so good. It is simple, but yet so delicious. Give it a try. Now your cheese might, not mix well with the pasta fluid. It might be stringy. Doesn't matter. It's practice makes perfect. Keep doing it. You'll get it right, and it's going to be amazing. Anyway, as always, thank you for watching.